Into the reading room. We've gathered here to find out who are the finalists and the roll call of celebration of my writers today. The story is called The Small Shoemaker, and Mrs. C has sewn pieces together, so we've got a nation, a complete one whole story for the nation to hear and listen to. I'm so proud of you. Mrs. C asked you to do 3 things today in your writing, and you blew me away with your compositions. The first, compose a effect. I asked if you could use a coordinating conjunction like so and but and yet, or any other word that you might want to repeat. That was up to you, and there were some really good submissions. The repetition for effect symbol. The second thing I asked you to do was a bracket, like you were talking really closely to the reader to emphasise something in the plot, and there was lots of twists and turns. Shoemaker, and you use that bracket to good effect. I asked you to do and in my chunk I was comparing the gold shoes to golden things, like stardust. I saw some fabulous similes today. And if you hear your name, here we go then. 1 and you're 10. All the 10s coming in. We've got writing plot point 3. Bertie Wilson, you're 7. Thank you for your excellent chunk 4. Melanie Bartlett, you're 48. I know how. Thank you very much. Elsie Mercer, you're 10. Eliza, that was sent in by Lucy318 on Twitter, and Eliza's 7. Henry Norman wrote chunk 8, and he's 8. And Thomas Taylor, you wrote chunk 9, and you're 8 years old. So, oh, Mr. C, yes. Sound's gone. We've got a problem with sound. We're just going to sort our sound out for a little moment. We're going to still film? Just wait there. I'm going to see the sound. I'll be back. We just check.
Look into this.
Oh, the beauty. Just bear with me for a moment.
I'll sit down and hold that.
Hear me? Did you get? Or shall
Do it again.
Okay, The Small Shoemaker. Who? Roll call of celebrations. I'm going to go past it. It'd be great. My voice. I'm ever so sorry this is happening. Maybe we need to stop it and come back later. What do you think, Mr. C?
Hold on for 1 minute.
We're holding on for a minute. We're going to see if we can get. I'm going to have a little sip of my coffee while we're waiting. You let me know.
Sound on here, so I need you to talk.
Got it.
Have we got it? The Small Shoemaker. Can you hear my voice? It's so exciting.
So exciting.
Oh, look, it's coming through. I think we might. Oh dear. Maybe. So when we've sorted out the sound. What do you think?
Wait a minute. I'm going to send you to this mic.
by going now from the beginning. Oh, I'm so sorry, everybody. We really are having a hoo-ha with sound. A hoo-ha, do you like that word? I do. Here we go then. Going back up from the top, yes? Okay. I'm going to project my voice. I haven't got my mic on, but I do have in my toolkit a very good projection theatre voice. So we're going to go from here. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Let's pretend that hasn't happened. Okay. Who are the finalists today who have made it into our roll call of celebrations? Well, plot point 1 is Benjamin Reed, he's 10. Plot point 2 is Rocco Goldwyn, and he's 10. Ollie Clark, you wrote plot point 3 and you're 10. Bertie Wilson, you're 7 and you wrote 4. Menley Bartlett, you're 48 years old. Oh, Menley, I hope you're okay. I know exactly how you feel, but hang in there. Elsie Mercer, you're 10 and you wrote plot point 6. Eliza, your work was sent in by @Lucy318 on Twitter and you're 7. Henry Norman is 8, writing 8. And Thomas Taylor, you're 8, writing 9. Well, thank you everybody. You worked so hard. You blew my mind with some repetition for effect, some really amazing talking to the reader brackets, and you finished off, many of you show me in your writing a really wonderful, vivid simile. Okay, I'm going to read that now. The story, The Small Shoemaker. It was a gloriously dazzling day, and Mr. Bott skipped happily towards the huge window at the entrance to his shop. He opened the red, majestic curtains and he clapped his hands loudly, so precisely, so commandingly, and his shoes woke up. He got out his soft feather duster and delicately cleaned his shoes. He started to clean one and quickly was joined by the rest, probably because they were jealous of being tickled. The shoes all stood to attention like soldiers, and a beautiful young lady strolled past the window, and out of the corner of her eye she noticed an amazing red shoe. All of a sudden, a red mobile shoe shop came round the corner faster than the speed of light. And Mr. Bott was certain he was about to seal the deal with the young woman when a thunderous noise snatched her attention. It was a horn so deafening, so piercing, so booming, it broke the silence on the quiet cobbled street. A vintage van came to an abrupt halt directly outside the shoe store, and within seconds, a slender, sharply dressed peddler with a glint of arrogance painted on his face began displaying a plethora of fancy footwear that instantly caught the lady's eye. Mr. Bott was not one for giving in, and like music to her ears, the rhythmic ringing of the bell coaxed the woman back towards him. The lady was so enticed, so charmed by his stunning shoes. Mr. Ripout unveiled so many tantalising offers. He wanted to be the #1 shoe seller, if you can say it, which Mrs. C clearly can't. She went back over and bought a pair of shoes. She looked guilty as a man who just committed a murder, and he then started checking his money to annoy Mr. Bott. He smirked as if to say, "I'm better than you." Mr. Ripout was happy, but this was war. Mr. Bott was getting so frustrated that he put together a new design. He worked all night making it, and in the morning the shoemaker went out to put his new shoe on sale, which was a grey sort of boot shoe, only to find out that Mr. Ripout had sold 666 shoes to new customers. Bott put the shoes on his stand and smiled, and Mr. Ripout pressed a red button and smiled too. The stand shoes of Mr. Ripout's van switched, and they just copied Mr. Bott. He felt so furious, so annoyed, and so desperate, he was as angry as a bull. Bott's shoulders slumped. His body sagged with sadness. His head bowed. He knew that Ripout had challenged and fought and beaten him again, and it was as if Bott's beautiful business was crumbling around him. And with one last enormous effort, he stood in the rain and rang his melancholy bell, oblivious to the frantic calls of his faithful shoes from behind the glass. One clang, but nobody stopped. Two clangs, but nobody paused. With the third feeble clang, his last ounce of hope left his body like a grain of sand in a timer. His head sank to his knees as, everything might have been lost. Mr. Bott's tiny friend squeaked and circled around him, and he felt a little bit better. He closed his eyes again, but this time it was out of determination. When he opened them, he spotted a tub of gold paint next to one of his grumpy leather boots, and an idea sparked inside him like fire on wood. This idea was so good that his eyes lit up, and it was so good that his feet did a little jig on the floor. And he started singing like a child. This was an unusual thing that was happening, but it gave him an idea for a shoe. His head instantly felt clearer, and he had. Mrs. C's lost her place. She got so excited there. I am having a to-do of a day, aren't I? Just bear with me so I can find my place again. His head felt instantly clearer, and he set to work once again, drilling, screwing, banging, and doing all he could to stop his business crumbling. Chuckling to himself, happily, he worked tirelessly. His determination was on fire again. Mr. Bott, the magical shoemaker, had plotted a devious plan, a plan so clever, so suspicious, so superb, he was certain it would work. Mr. Bott proudly stepped out of the shop, carrying a box towards the miserable Mr. Ripout. He stared, flabbergasted, into the box at the pair of shoes. So gold as though they were dripping honey, they shone brightly in his miserable face. And as his bulging eyes gaped and gawped and ogled at the lustrous golden shoes, with a quick smile in Mr. Bott's direction, he pulled the box closer to him. As quick as a flash, Mr. Ripout slipped his feet onto the silky shoes, which fitted his feet like a glove. He stood up tall in his new footwear, so pleased, so thrilled, so proud. Instantaneously, the magic shoes yanked him into a powerful dance. His legs were jerked into right angles, and he landed with a thud on his bottom, thrusting his legs forward, and together the shoes forced him onto his feet, but they weren't finished with him yet. Bewildered but satisfied, Mr. Bott ripped the agreement in two, and it floated into the air. Triumphantly, he strode back to his small shop, his cosy shop, his magic shop. And as he walked in, he noticed some pink shoes that were dirty. He started to clean the magic pink shoes that were like beads in the dazzling sunlight. The scrubby little man looked up and punched his fist, and his black tie was waving in the sun. He was unstoppable and he was ready for his new challenge. Well, thank you everybody. The wonder of words propped us up there, even though Mrs. C's sound kit hasn't worked properly today. Oh well, life isn't perfect, you know. Sometimes mistakes happen. But thank you for being here. And tomorrow I'm going to meet you back in the classroom, in the Super Sentence Stackers classroom at 9:45, where we'll watch a practically perfect film called Piper. It's a Pixar short and it won an Oscar. It's really beautiful, about a bird, a type of bird, a sandpiper, and his adventures on the beach. So I will see you tomorrow back in the classroom at 9:45. Thank you, everybody.